Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, with your host, Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family. What's going on? To the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's happening? And to the New Life Evangelistic Center family, headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work. And a shout out to our cameraman. This evening, in part two of a series of discussions that I'm going to be having with one of the prominent people in our community who's about uplifting our people through his organization, Better Family Life, and that's the founder and current chairman of Better Family Life, Malik Ahmed. What's going on there, brother, man?
It's wonderful just being with you. Everything is fine, Zaki, and thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being on, and as explained in one of our prior shows, that I'd like to have you here on several more episodes to look at the whole question of international travel and experiences. And that's where we're going to start this evening.
Yes, sure.
First of all, let's review, why do you think it's important for folks to have international experience?
I think in the shortest way of answering that question, to better know yourself. You can't know yourself being confined in a very limited space. This is a huge world, and some aspect of yourself is in that world. So the more you experience the world, the more you experience yourself.
Absolutely. Now, in our off-air discussions, we'd be comparing you and I, the countries that we have traveled to. Mm-hmm. You've been blessed to visit how many countries?
35 countries.
35 countries. Yes. Okay, then. And within that context of those 35 countries, what would be your top three experiences?
You asked me that question the last time, and it took me all night to try to figure that out. Certainly, Mali would be at the top of the list.
And Mali was the first country in Africa.
In Africa that I lived in.
Okay. And you lived in Mali how long?
For almost 3.5 years.
About 3.5 years.
Yes.
So you were you can truly say you have captured some of the Mali experience.
I'm certain that Mali is in me for life now. So, it was one of an intense learning.
And where is Mali for our audience?
It's in West Africa.
It's in West Africa.
And it's a landlocked country, which means that it's not one of those that's bordered by the Atlantic Ocean. You got to go inland. It has the great Niger River to it, and that's one of the longest rivers in the world.
And what is the capital of Mali?
Bamako. And I lived in Bamako, and Mali is a French-speaking country, and the indigenous language that most Malians speak is a language called Bamana. They also speak Arabic up north, as well as several other languages. But Mali is distinguished for having the great city of Timbuktu in it, the great Dogon people that had all kinds of mystery systems connected to the stars, Sirius A, B. They are very, very smart. They love their history. They love their culture. Also, Mali is the place that Mansa Musa went on his Hajj to Mecca and just devastated the gold market there. He brought so much gold from Mali to Mecca in the 13th century. So, but I would say probably the next country that okay.
I may have to have you on a number of times because the conversations generate another question in my mind,
sure.
And I want people to learn from this experience. Timbuktu. Some people may not have heard of Timbuktu. Please,
in fact, there was always the expression from here to Timbuktu, and Timbuktu was always imagined as the end of the earth. Well, I wanted to go to the end of the earth, and what I found there, Zaki, was a black culture that was still flourishing, where people in their homes possess historic scholarly works from the 13th and 14th century in their homes. I mean, it is a wonderful place in terms of the architectural structures that's still intact, the history, the culture. There was a mosque built by Mansa Musa in the 13th century that's still very much intact. So you go back in time to a place where black people were empowered and the whole world was going to places like Timbuktu. It was a major trading post in the Sahara Desert. So all of the commerce of the vast Sahara Desert, which is bigger than the entire United States. The Sahara Desert is bigger than the entire continental United States. Well, Timbuktu was the center of that trade of the Sahara Desert that transversed from what's called the Middle East all the way into Central, South, and North Africa and West Africa.
And Mansa Musa, I know that went to Egypt and devalued the gold market, the gold, because he had so much gold. Right?
It wasn't just Egypt, but all the way from Egypt to Mecca. That whole route, the value of gold was devalued because Mansa Musa brought that much gold into that area as gifts on his Hajj to Mecca. I think there's talk that he went with some 30 to 70,000 people with him.
Wow.
So that's how he was rolling.
Right.
And that's a black emperor. That's a black empire builder. So when they say that we didn't build empires, they just need to check out Malian history.
That's being hoodwinked, bamboozled.
That's right.
That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Your second.
I would think Nigeria was the second place that I was most impressed with. One, right now, Nigeria must have a population of about 200 million people.
Right.
But what was impressive about Nigeria was, and when I went in 1978 was when I was there, so that was almost 41 years ago. It was this sense of black power, a lot of things were thriving in Nigeria at the time. The oil revenue was high. They were sending hordes of their students all over the country, all over the world for education, and they were building infrastructures.
I'm going to have to interrupt because we got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back on Nigeria.
I hope you're enjoying the Zaki Baruti Show, and I thank God for each one of you that are praying and working with us to get back into the 1411 Locust Building, one of the greatest acts of discrimination in modern history, as we see a 5-story facility shut down because neighbors didn't want to see those kind of people in the neighborhood, as they refer to them at. Those kind of people, as they refer to them at, are actually individuals that are made in the image of God, who Jesus said, as often you've done to the least of these, he said, even so you've done it unto me. As you share a gift of $10 or more with the New Life Evangelistic Center, you're not only helping New Life Evangelistic Center to get back into 1411 Locust Street, but you're helping so many of the hurting and the homeless in so many different ways. And as you share your gift, please request your copy of Through the Fire. It tells you the whole story of steps that were taken by the rich and powerful to shut down 1411 Locust. Now we're working to get back in there, and it will happen as you pray, as you get directly involved. So as you share your gift, be sure you ask for a copy of Through the Fire, and know that by giving, caring, and sharing at this time, you're helping so many people that are in need.
If you can't receive NLEC TV on channel 24.2 on your TV, you can watch us on your home computer or laptop, anywhere in the world. Simply type in NLEC TV, then select NLEC TV support and click on the small NLEC TV on the right of the menu bar. Click on the play indicator to start the live programming, the same programming as 24.2. You can then enlarge the picture and enjoy your favorite programs like the NLEC Worship with Larry Rice, The Bernie Hayes Show, Experience the Benefits of Change with Pastor Burris, Conversations with Zaki Baruti, News and Views, and so much more.
Can you hear the music of creation?
NLEC TV is also available on all mobile devices such as smartphones and iPads. By getting the NLEC TV app, you can enjoy NLEC TV anywhere you go.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Malik Ahmed, founder and chairman of Better Family Life, who is a world traveler, having been to at least 35 countries. In our last discussion, I was either even with you or one behind.
Right.
Give praise to God for my travels, too.
Absolutely.
You were sharing your second most wonderful
I said
trip.
Nigeria, but maybe I should put Jamaica in there because I think...
Yeah, man.
Yes. And in Jamaica, I went to Jamaica in 1972. I was about 21 years old or so at the time. I was still in college.
And can I interject when you say that, I did my honeymoon with my wife for 43 years in Jamaica.
Yeah,
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Salute to Brady. You are a beautiful woman, Brady, with a beautiful man. So Jamaica.
And likewise with your wife, Deborah.
Thank you. Of 37 years. We'll be going on our 38th year in September. So,
praise be.
Yes. But in Jamaica, back in 1972, that was the first time I was introduced to the Rastafarian movement.
Right.
And then going to visit Marcus Garvey's memorial in Kingston, that was just mind-blowing, to have read about Marcus Garvey all my life and then to be in the place of his birth and to be at his memorial site. I conjured up all of the energy of his UNIA movement, his philosophy and opinions. And
UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement
Association, which your organization is kind of
based on
one aim, one goal, one destiny.
Absolutely.
And the Jamaicans at the time were really just getting reacquainted with Marcus Garvey, because for a long time he was
a disconnect.
A disconnect, yeah.
White
it was
out.
a big disconnect.
Right.
But that was the first black country I had gone to. I was in Canada in 1966, and that was the first time I was out of the country in Canada, and I think I was about 14 years old. But in 1972, Jamaica just was like, wow, I'm in the land of black people, And then from Jamaica, I went to Haiti, and that was the first time I encountered French and patois and poverty to unimaginable levels.
I understand that.
But the pride.
Were you in Port-au-Prince?
I was in Port-au-Prince. The pride of the Haitian people blew me away. The artistic expressions of the Haitian people, and knowing the role that they played with the African American abolitionist movement.
Right.
It was what Toussaint Overture did, and Dessalines, and the other one, I can't think of his name, but who was really the mainstay of that revolution that revolutionized African Americans to rise up against slavery. A lot of people
and let's
don't
be
even
clear
know.
For our audience, that's the Haitian Revolution
of 1803-04.
Right.
That is what kicked the
and that's where the enslaved people overthrew
the French,
right.
took on Napoleon.
Right.
And defeated him.
Right.
Defeated him.
Absolutely.
It gave so much inspiration to African Americans throughout the South and in the North that became the impetus for enslaved people to rise up. There's a lot of insurrections in American history that we don't know about. They don't tell us about what Dessalines and not Luqman, it's another one, but he was real strong, that it made such an impression on us that's when the black codes and other real restrictive stuff, because they were trying to beat independence out of us. So Haiti was a wonderful place to get all of that, and then to even learn about the voodoo religious practices, which originally came from West Africa. So I think Jamaica and Haiti would be there. Then I would say that Egypt, I was blessed. My brother Hannibal and I were blessed to go to Egypt with Dr. Ben when Dr. Ben was still very strong. And we went to Upper Egypt, which is in Aswan. And visited all.
Did you get to Luxor?
Luxor, that's in the Aswan area.
That's where I got to.
And visited the temples and stuff. And it's like, this stuff is intact. This ain't this ain't no stuff that is broken down. This is real structures that you're looking at that's 4,000 and 5,000 years old. 7,000, 8,000.
And it's amazing. When I was there, you'd be saying, how were they able to do that?
Exactly.
These
massive structures that they built. Yes.
So with that said, and our original purpose for this episode was getting to your experience in Cuba.
Oh man, Cuba was a blast. I think the first thing.
First of all, when did you go to Cuba?
I went to Cuba 2 years ago, June of 2017.
Okay.
And one of the greatest things that impressed me about Cuba is seeing all of the people of color. There are a lot of black people in Cuba that look like every black American in this country. And then it stands to reason because in this whole slave triangle, the Atlantic slave trade, Cuba was one of the first spots.
Right.
So that was the distribution point.
Right.
So the same characteristics that you see in African Americans here, you see in Cubans over there. So that was the first real shocker.
Wait a minute, let me interject.
Yeah.
I hope one of those characteristics isn't the sagging you see.
No.
To me, the positive characteristic.
Yeah, but they got some other social problems because young people everywhere do some weird things, the dyeing of their hair and all that kind of stuff, the tight pants and all of that. But
are you an old conservative?
No. Well, maybe I am. You look at it, it's like, no, man, this ain't too culturally sound.
Right. Yeah. Wait a minute, on that note, we'll have to take another break.
Okay.
An epidemic of homelessness is sweeping throughout the United States of America. In city after city, people are ending up on the streets. Now, instead of feeling overwhelmed, as believers, we can do three things. We can give, we can volunteer, and we can pray. We can pray for the homeless refugees that we're finding in one city after another, all over the United States. So many people ending up out on the streets, and the hearts of so many are growing cold at this particular time and indifferent to the need. Jesus said, as oft as you've done it to the least of these, he said, even so you've done it unto me. When's the last time you've prayed for the homeless refugees in the United States of America, appearing in city after city, not only in major cities, but even smaller cities? So many people ending up out on the streets, even in resort areas, places you never think you'd find homeless people, they're there. Jesus said, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but he, the Son of Man, had nowhere to lay his head. Please pray for the refugees. Please pray for the homeless people in America. And pray for those that are on the front lines, the first responders, reaching out through Jesus Christ among the homeless and hurting, whether it's in Springfield or St. Louis. Your prayers and gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center makes a big difference. This New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, is 63166.
2 Timothy 1, verse 10.
But it has now been revealed through the appearing of our Savior, Jesus Christ, who has destroyed death and has brought life and immortality to light through the gospel.
John 11, verses 25 and 26.
I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live, even though he dies, and whoever lives and believes in me will never die.
Now you can take NLEC TV anywhere as you put the NLEC TV app on your iPhone or mobile device. NLEC TV is an innovative TV station that's on the cutting edge of community service. On NLEC TV, you'll discover wholesome family, community, renewable energy, and inspirational programming. Those needing energy assistance, food, clothing, or freedom from the cycle of homelessness will find that plus much more on NLEC TV. Now, you can receive NLEC TV by going to 24.2 on your television set or putting the NLEC TV app on your iPhone or mobile device. For further information, call 314-436-2424 or go to nlecstl.org. That's nlecstl.org.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me for just a short few more minutes. His brother Malik Ahmed, president of Better Family Life and founder. And we were dealing with experiences, and we were on the experience in Cuba.
Yeah.
And we were saying about the characteristics as well as not conservatism.
Yeah.
But
I think the other thing that was just striking about Cuba that I don't think most Americans know, especially black Americans know, I didn't even see any military. There's no military repression there. I was surprised when I got to the airport, there was none. When we got on the streets, there was none. It didn't seem like nobody was under any restrictions and all that kind of stuff. Because those are all of the images that we have of Cuba, that it's a police state and that everything is being watched and all that. There was none of that. We had no problems traveling around the country, traveling in the cabs, the public buses. And then the other thing that was quite impressive, Zaki, was how inexpensive things are. I mean, you can get a dinner, a full meal for about 60 cents, 70 cents. Housing is cheap. Electric is, the government pays for electric and water and other kinds of things. So when you're on the street dealing with the vendors, it's real cool. I mean, we stayed in Havana.
I was going to ask you exactly where did you
we stayed
stay
in Havana. And,
you were in Havana, which is the capital
of Cuba. And then we went to a major city called Matanza, which is about 75 miles outside of Havana. That's almost all black. And a strong culture. The Cuban culture, which is African in its origin, is probably some of the strongest culture in the Caribbean. The Cuban people are very warm people. Again, they're so much like black Americans, they just speak Spanish. That their ways, their affectations.
And how were you able to, and you were there how long?
Almost 3 weeks.
In terms of that being are you bilingual?
I speak un poco español, but no, I'm
no
not.
Spanish. Okay,
a little Spanish.
Okay, so how were you able to
Most
maneuver?
of them speak English. The amazing thing about most countries, most people are bi or trilingual. America is about the only country that only speaks one language.
Absolutely.
The Cubans speak Spanish, they speak German, they speak French, and they speak English. And English is taught in school from grade school all the way to college level. So a lot of them are very fluent. And then when you bump into somebody that don't understand, you start doing sign language. You know what happens.
Some kind of way we get to communicate.
You know, and somehow somebody will hear it and get you where you need to go.
Right.
You know.
And you were traveling by between cities.
Yes, by. So Matanza was probably the greatest place. We wanted to go to Cuba de Santiago, which is another place that's near Guantanamo Bay. That's another place that's heavily populated by black people. And in fact, they told me there the culture is even stronger. So Cuba is just a place that I think every black American ought to visit because you'll see the similarities. It's no accident that Cubans compete in baseball and basketball and track and all the rest of that stuff because we're very much the same people.
So within that context, the last question on that, and then if we can, because we only have a few minutes left, the political aspect of where Cuba is there, because, you know, at one time in the 50s, it was known for the place to hang out for the gangsters and the prostitution and what have you. Give your take on the political
I think the political aspect, with Raul Castro being in power, you know, he has definitely liberalized the country where there is more of private industry, et cetera, and more younger people entering into the political mainstream. And he intends to only be there another few years. And they got in fact, they've already designated a new piece. But
I have to stop you.
Okay.
All right, we got to take one last break.
It's the gifts of caring people like you that help keep the Zaki Baruti Show on the air, dealing with hard issues that we must begin to recognize in our community, issues that are frequently ignored by much of the existing media. And St. Louis and the St. Louis area is a community that's famous for its Jim Crow policies of keeping the people down by elevating the rich and the powerful. I want to encourage you to get a copy of the book Through the Fire as you share your gift of $10 or more to help keep Zaki's program on the air and directly help the hurting and the homeless. This book goes into great detail of how the bigotry and the self-centeredness of the rich and powerful it was implemented through the politicians to drive the homeless out of the area by shutting down the Work a New Life Evangelistic Center. But the work isn't shut down. It's moving forth in many other different locations. It's moved out on the streets among the people, and it's working to get back into 1411 Locust, all of which is made possible through the prayers and gifts of caring individuals like you. And that's why your gift is so very important at this time. And as you share that gift with New Life Evangelistic Center of $10 or more at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri 63166, be sure you request your copy of Through the Fire. Yes, God is moving in a mighty way. New Life Evangelistic Center has not given up in spite of all the persecution. It's given it to God, and we're seeing Him now do exceedingly abundantly beyond what we can even ask or think. I ask you to continue to pray for us at the New Life Evangelistic Center as we're working to continue to bring you community programming like the Zaki Baruti Show and are out on the streets among the homeless, working among the homeless, distributing bus tickets every week and emergency supplies for them, opening up safe houses for the homeless, women and children, expanding training programs for the homeless. All of it is possible because of each one of you that is sharing that much-needed gift now with New Life Evangelistic Center. So when you send your gift of $10 or more, please request a copy of Through the Fire. It's P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Brother Malik Ahmed, president of and founder of Better Family Life. We only got a couple minutes, Malik.
Yes.
We were talking about the political aspect of Cuba.
Yeah, I mean, the spirit of the Cuban Revolution is still very much alive in Cuba. You see all kinds of signs on the street of people's neighborhood associations, where the people still feel very much indebted to that point of view. I'm not sure all of the details because I don't speak Spanish, but what I did see is that they have a strong feeling for their tradition. I saw a television series on Che Guevara, and I was so interested in Che Guevara because when I was in Bolivia, I actually tried to find.
And for anybody who may not, Che Guevara was one of the leading revolutionaries for the Cuban Revolution.
Yes. And he died. He was killed in Bolivia.
Right.
And when I was in Bolivia, I was actually trying to find his area where the assassination took place,
okay.
But I was in the wrong place.
Okay.
I was in La Paz, which is the capital, and I saw a sign that said the Che Guevara Trail, but it was about 300 miles away from where I was, so I didn't get it. But so you see more pictures of Che Guevara in Cuba than you did see of Fidel Castro. So he is the spirit of the revolution.
Okay, then, on that note, we only have a minute left. Anybody want to contact you about sharing your experiences or what have you? How would they be in contact with you?
I would love to do as much public speaking about international travel because I think for African Americans, this is one of the greatest contributions that we can make to the world.
In fact, as you was talking, I'm committing our organization to hold a series of international travel seminars and love you to be there.
Yes,
all right, go ahead.
They can contact me at area code 314-367 3440. That's the number to Better Family Life. I would love to share that because I don't get a chance to do that much. So thank you for this opportunity.
And again, it just goes so fast.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Again, and we will have you back. You've been listening to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. Like always, join an organization that speaks truth to power. On that note, may God bless each and every one of you.